This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, Dragon Keepers? This is Fantology, your host, Steven, and I have to apologize for my poor setup and possibly audio quality since I'm moving this weekend, but needed to get this review of House of the Dragon Episode 2 in, which is why we have our Grand Maester, Hayden, back, and my lifelong friend, Ryan. So, guys, let's do this.
Did you just relocate to Dragonstone?
I mean, it seems like a decently defensible place. So, no, I didn't, but I like the visuals there, so I could see myself moving there maybe one day.
The internet's just not quite as good where you're at, and I figure just being in a former volcano, Stone Keep might contribute to that a little bit.
I could see that interfering. I think we saw some of Dragonstone in Game of Thrones, but not like the big exterior shot that we saw in episode 2 here, where they were dramatically facing off on that little walkway. I thought that was probably my favorite part of the episode.
It was definitely interesting. I mean, I didn't imagine Dragonstone like that in my mind, and I don't remember seeing it in the original Game of Thrones show. I'm sure it was there, but
there were some moments like when Stannis, mostly the Stannis moments, and the ones where Melisandre was, birthing his dark child, that was all Dragonstone.
But yeah, and in those later seasons, we definitely see the outside as well. So it looked the same as it did, in the original show.
Okay, so I guess I don't even remember Dragonstone in the later seasons.
Yeah, except it looked more dark and dreary this time with fog and stuff. I don't know. It looked cool.
It looked kind of like the Great Wall of China where they met up.
Could see that.
Yeah, that walkway. Yeah, from where they get off the boat and then walk to the castle. It's really cool.
So that was my favorite part of the episode. What were your guys' favorites? Favorite scenes, favorite characters, whatever.
Yeah, I've got to say that Dragonstone scene was definitely the most heated moment of the episode. It seemed really I loved the dialogue. I really enjoyed the dialogue, and I loved Rhaenyra showing up as well to that.
That's what I was gonna say with the cloud / fog cover, and then you just see the ripple of it as there's a dragon flying under it, and then what's her dragon's name?
Syrax.
Syrax. Oh yeah, so right as Syrax.
So hers is Syrax, but Daemon. I thought Daemon's was Caraxes, right?
Caraxes, yes.
Okay, so similar sounding names.
Yeah.
Okay. And the egg that was stolen was from Sunfire?
The egg was from Dreamfire.
Dreamfire.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of dragons.
And we've only seen 2 so far, right?
Right. Yeah, we've heard of Dreamfire and Vhagar.
And supposedly they animated 17 for this show.
Yeah. See, I'm just really excited to see Vhagar when we do. Apparently he's kind of MIA right now. But they said that they hear him on Driftmark,
Vhagar, cool. So Vhagar was one of the dragons, the originals that came over with Aegon, right? One of his sisters.
The Senya's dragon, yeah.
Well, okay. I think Vhagar was actually I just read, so I started Fire and Blood. So
nice.
Valerion's the only dragon that actually came from Valyria.
Right.
The other dragons, including Vhagar, were hatched on Dragonstone.
That's right.
Oh, so they say that Vhagar has a memory of Valyria because she was the egg was laid in Valyria.
Maybe. I don't understand that.
Vhagar never saw Valyria, at least from what we know.
Okay. Yeah. This is me kind of speculating on what we're going to see later in this season, but I really liked and by the way, if you're listening and you don't want to have any spoilers for Fire and Blood or what we think might happen, based off the history we know, then that might happen. But I liked the conversation that Viserys and what's her name, Lyanna, Corlys's daughter,
Laena,
right? Laena, yeah, because she was talking about Vhagar and she rides Vhagar later on, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And they've said his name a couple of times. And so
okay.
So up to this point, or I mean, at this point right now, Vhagar's got to be the biggest, baddest dragon around, right? Because Balerion has passed away.
Vhagar is the biggest, the oldest, and the biggest dragon alive at this time.
Okay. And Ryan, from our previous recording before the season started, you were like speculating where, or we were trying to figure out where Balerion was, and I think we did confirm that is his skull hanging in the Red Keep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Just clearing that up from last time.
Yeah, and we see. I love that they've talked a lot about Balerion as well, and it's mentioned. Viserys says a couple of times that Balerion was the last dragon to see, Valyria in all its glory, and I wonder if that's like hinting at something that maybe we don't know, for the future of the story, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he was bonded, to Balerion in a way that he could see through his eyes or something. I don't know. Just wild theories I think about, but
okay. Yeah. I do love the connection to old Valyria and the little model, the intricate model there that's also kind of reflected in the title sequence. That's cool, and I'm really glad they're like leaning back into this kind of mystery of the Targaryen, and really the mystery of the whole world is the doom of Valyria.
Yeah, we have that new title sequence, and yeah, just the blood flowing from Valyria, and seeing where it all connects. I think it's really, really cool, and also I think foreshadowing for things to come.
So I mean, this is the first episode that's showed the intro, and I mean, the Game of Thrones music obviously is incredibly difficult to beat, and so there's that nostalgia that I instantly had when I saw the intro for the first time. But then there was also kind of this, like, I don't know, maybe a little bit of sadness. I wanted the show to kind of set itself apart a little bit from Game of Thrones, and it's hard to do that when you keep the same exact theme song.
I could see that. Point. I do wonder why they didn't come up with a new theme song.
Yeah. I mean, they're using the name Game of Thrones for the whole thing,
Right. So is every spinoff going to feature that song?
I think they're trying to build a whole world, and have like this show canon that's continuous and all is coherent. So I get why they did it. And I'm a sucker for the theme song. So
yeah,
I was just like,
a great
this is
song.
awesome. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's a phenomenal song. And I mean, I think I would have been also a little sad if it wasn't the same song, because I would have been like, oh man, it's different. So I mean, it's kind of like the grass is always greener on the other side, I guess. Type thing. I'm just nitpicking.
Maybe we need like a remix, more of a remix of the song.
Yeah, maybe that with some I don't know, different instrumentals, or you can mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. We are getting a remix of a lot of the music, and that sounds really good.
So we talked about the dragons quite a bit, which is appropriate considering Ryan's opinion from our last episode where he said he only cared about the dragons. But what do we think about the human characters?
Oh, we don't care for them. That's not what the show's about.
I mean, I like them. I think that the Viserys,
the
actor who plays him has been great. So the actor who plays Daemon Targaryen, I think his name is Matt Smith. He's the from Doctor Who as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks a little strange to me. I don't know. I mean,
he's got very strong features.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a very Targaryen look to me. I mean, and not that I'm like the best person to say like that person looks like a Targaryen or that person doesn't look like a Targaryen. I don't know. Just in my own mind, he doesn't look very much like a Targaryen. But I mean, his acting's been great. So I think it's just a matter of time for him to kind of settle in my mind as Daemon Targaryen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole settling in viewers' minds is tricky because like after 8 seasons of, you know, having an idea of what the show is to then go to the, you know, the next show, which is still like the same, but it's different. It's a little tough. I can see people taking some time to settle in. Yeah, that's how I felt personally. Yeah. I thought Viserys was really kind of not pathetic, but he's just really like kind of a wimpy king, but in a good way. Like he's not just this caricature of being a wimp. He's like in an understandable human way. You can see like, yeah, like he wants to be a strong king, but at the same time, he's just like not really able to make the personal sacrifice or like have the boldness to possibly make a mistake. So he does the safe things by like, yeah, let's kind of push this war in the stepstones down the road. Let's like continue kicking this can down the road a little bit longer. And like, yeah, he doesn't really want to marry I forgot her name again. Lena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he doesn't really want to marry her. He's like, you know, Alicent is kind of pretty and she's here, so I'll marry her instead. It makes sense, but it doesn't like make you hate him, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you know, come on, man.
I like how we saw Daemon's love for Viserys in this episode when he's talking to Corlys, and he tells Corlys like, you don't speak of my brother like I can, but you can't. And I think that was really telling to Daemon's character. And Daemon, I can tell, loves Viserys and tells him like it is. You know, Daemon straight up told Viserys, you are weak. You know, you are not fit to be ruling right now. And, you know, we have the whole throne thing happening as well, where he's getting chopped up by the throne. And that's another, you know, little hint that he's not fit to rule. And then we see in his decision making in this episode that he's making very weak decisions, you know, by not letting Rhaenyra go to Dragonstone in the first place to settle that conflict, and then to just go behind everyone's back and marry Alicent. I mean, except for Otto. That's what Otto wanted the whole time, right?
Yeah, I think this episode especially shows how easily manipulated Otto or Viserys is by Otto, because Viserys views Otto as just like his best friend, you know, his closest confidant, and Otto is just using him the whole time. And you see like everybody around like giving him sound advice to like marry Lena. I mean, I obviously understand I wouldn't want to marry a 12-year-old. So I understand Viserys's hesitations there.
A 14-year-old is much better.
yeah, I guess. But like there was that moment where like I feel like Otto was, you know, very conniving. He's like thinking like, I can't really dispute this logically, and then he was just like, and then he's like, I just love my wife so much and I miss her so much. And, you know, he just played that card so well for Viserys to be like, wow, he gets me, you know, he gets me. He knows like, and maybe like I should look for somebody else who could be a good companion. I think that that scene was like very telling about the relationship and just how masterfully Otto plays him. You know, he reminds me just of like Peter Baelish character, and you know, he's the Hand of the King, so there's obviously some similarities there.
But not like quite as obviously sinister as Littlefinger.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, was Littlefinger that obvious at the beginning of the series?
To viewers, I think he was.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but obviously my opinion is tainted there because I had read the books going into the series.
Yeah, just kind of the way he talks in the show. Peter Baelish, you know, seems a little like off-putting. But Otto, just seems like, whatever. And he's a normal guy.
I think the relationship with Alicent as well between Otto and Alicent is interesting and really well rounded, where she's like trying to please her father, but still trying to like, you know, find happiness, but also she's got her friendship with Rhaenyra. So she's stuck between a lot of different, she's pulled in a lot of different directions, which is good setup for what's going to happen later on with all those characters.
I think that they've kind of, I feel like the writers have done some, you know, interesting like showing and not telling, like showing us how Alicent is very I don't know, uncomfortable, anxious. You know, she has the habit of like picking at her fingers, and but she doesn't necessarily show it in her acting, right? Because she kind of seems like she's in control, but you know, under it all, she's definitely got some issues with everything going on. And you know, she wants, I think she really values her friendship with Rhaenyra, but I don't know what happens because I haven't got to that point in Fire and Blood, but I'm guessing there's going to be some issues that go down, especially now that that Viserys said he's going to marry her. So maybe
it's a good guess. It's a good guess.
A baby is going to complicate things in this relationship.
Did you see the like next time on House of the Dragon thing at the end, Ryan?
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh,
okay. You got to watch past the credits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of nice just being totally surprised by.
Okay, sure. There's that. Okay.
Then I mean, if you guys
won't tell you what's.
If you guys want to discuss it, that's totally fine.
Let's just say you're alluding to like your speculations on what could happen is like pretty good.
Okay. One other thing of imagery that could be pointed out. Hayden's already pointed out some of it with, like, you know, the king being kind of pricked by the Iron Throne, and in episode 1, his finger was cut by the throne, right? And in this episode, now his finger's like black with infection, I guess, and so they're trying to cleanse it with maggots. And I think this is alluding to, I think somebody might have mentioned this in the Discord, but how his hand is like almost betraying him as well. You know, like the hand of the king is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Maybe a little.
That
rotten.
could be some really cool, imagery foreshadowing. Yeah,
I like that. So the biggest difference to me between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon so far is the way they're handling the timeline of the two stories, right? With Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, we got a really detailed narrative that just kind of went through pretty streamlined until season 8, when everyone, you know, started jumping around, right? But here in this show, we've got a more cursory narrative from George R.R. Martin that they have to fill in, which they're doing, but they've still chosen to add these time skips in. So there were 6 months in between episode 1 and 2, based off what we saw in the coming next on House of the Dragon. It looks like there's at least a year before episode 3. And then we know there are older versions of several of the key actresses, at least. So we're going to get a significant time jump by the end of this season, which kind of sets it apart and makes it maybe a little bit jarring when you have to really kind of remember, like, okay, this is what happened 6 months ago, here's where we're at, and then you kind of pick up. So I just wonder how they're going to do this. They're going to space it out where every episode is a time skip. I'm guessing maybe the last few episodes are a little more streamlined to kind of build up to a climax of the season. What would you guys make of this timeline difference?
Yeah, it's a lot to cover, and so the way that they're handling it so far, I think is done really well. But going into the War of the Stepstones, like, That's a war that's going to last multiple years. And I wonder how many episodes, that's going to span, if that will be a focus of the season, or if it will just be like a couple of episodes. Who knows?
Yeah.
I know that, these older characters, I don't know if it's spoilers, but it was confirmed that they start about halfway through the season, with those,
Okay.
the older actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes down, but it will be cool to kind of split it up, half and half, and see these actors for about, an equal amount of time.
So this House of the Dragon was just renewed for season 2.
Yeah,
I think
after episode 1, yeah.
After the second episode, or after the first episode?
After the first episode.
Okay.
After they had like record numbers of viewers for a HBO premiere, they renewed it. Good choice.
Which is great news. I mean, so far I think all of us have enjoyed it. I've mainly heard positive things from anybody I've talked to about it. Do we have any information on how long this show might last? I'm hoping not 8 seasons, just because that's kind of a long
7, not 8, right?
7
or 6.
They could they could really stretch it. I don't think they're going to, though.
Yeah, I think they could do at least 3 seasons, in maybe 3 to 5, with all the source material.
I just feel like shows end up better, when they have it planned out from the beginning, right? Where they're like, we could go to like 5 seasons, like, because if they realize that a show is really successful, and then they start just trying to like write the ending further and further into the future so they can get as much material, I think it can kind of harm the writing and in the long term. So everything, I don't know anything. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, everything I've seen from Ryan Condal, and all the things that he said about this show, the interviews he's done, has been very promising. He's like such a big fan of the books, and I think that he'll, I don't think he would go into this without mapping it all out, but that's just my theory. I think he's definitely very invested in the project, so I'm hoping, here's to hoping the best, for the show.
And it's good news they reviewed it so soon. That kind of gives you the impression that they were always going to, but just like some of the executives needed to see big numbers come in. And once they saw for episode 1, they, their worries were maybe, they weren't worried anymore, and they just said green light, we'll go ahead with the plan that we always had in place, which hopefully means they've got like, they're good for 3 or 4 seasons, as long as numbers continue to be where they are.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some concern, like, even though there was a lot of money put into it and it would draw some people, I think there was understandably some hesitation about whether they could continue to draw the same numbers that Game of Thrones had in the past, because if it didn't, then you probably can't justify spending this much money on a show,
especially with the backdrop of the HBO merger and like layoffs they've had recently. Netflix performance, like streaming is not in a great place right now, so you really do need, like, they can't just exorbitantly spend money. It's not going to work anymore. Okay, so let's wrap with I want to have something that we can kind of carry over from episode to episode review. I think a fun thing to do might be to just say, who do we think was like our top performer of the episode 2, and who was the worst? So Ryan, who is your like MVP and least valuable player?
Sorry, so you're gonna have to clarify a little bit what top performer, like, you mean the best actor, or do I just mean the character
character whose character had the the best outcome of the episode, had the most impactful moments, whatever?
Well, I'm definitely going to give this one to Rhaenyra, because she showed that she could stand off against Daemon and his dragon despite being younger and less experienced. And not really having much. Nobody was really showing any faith in her abilities. We saw that with her father, and he's like, when she's like, sorry dad about what happened at the small council, and he's like, you're young, you'll learn. And it was kind of like, it's probably not what you want to say. You probably want to, encourage her a bit more rather than discourage her from speaking up. So I think that shows that she's willing to do what she thinks is best for good or for bad. And as far as least in my mind or the worst, I don't know. Definitely. Well, I think definitely Viserys. Just because
I could see him showing up as a lot of bottom episode.
Yeah, I was thinking about it and I was like, oh yeah, definitely him. I mean, he goes against pretty much everybody's advice to marry Laena, and seal the Velaryons and Targaryens back together and stabilize the realm and the future, especially when Daemon is just a huge question mark in everybody's mind and everybody's questioning him. And I do get this vibe from him where he's got his models of Valyria. It almost seems like a child playing with like his train set, right? It seems almost like childish, like and having read Fire and Blood, I am starting to get the I just relate him a lot to Aenys. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Aegon the Conqueror's son, right? Who he had two sons, Maegor and Aenys was kind of weak and he got taken advantage of. And this is kind of what we're seeing from Viserys. And unfortunately, because of the father's weakness, the family has to end up dealing with it. And I think that's what's happening with Viserys. He's just being a weak ruler, not making the hard decisions that needs to be made, and his family are going to have to pick up the pieces.
I agree. Hayden, what do you think?
Just kind of pick off with what Ren was saying about Viserys, just to add one more thing. I thought about just now, I thought about the parallel from Game of Thrones about duty and love, marrying for duty or for love, and Viserys
the Robb Stark.
yeah, and Viserys kind of choosing that. It's kind of a callback to Game of Thrones. But as far as characters go, I would definitely have to agree with Rhaenyra as being kind of the star of this episode. She had a lot of big moments, and a lot of really cool scenes, from like praying in the Sept to picking the next Kingsguard, and then to be like followed around by Rhaenys the whole time, and just being like watched by her, and then like actually standing up to her and being able to like hold her own was cool. And then obviously the Dragonstone thing with Daemon, just to like prove how awesome she is and how she can get things done, and recommending to the council to use dragons when they should be used. I thought that was cool. And then as far as like the weakest, or one of the characters who got like the whatever, the short end of the stick, I'd kind of have to go with Daemon on this one. He puts together this whole story, stealing an egg. He goes through so much effort just to get his brother to come visit him, and he still doesn't come. And instead he gets Otto, his least favorite person on the planet. And it's just like, he just continuously kind of gets
and in the process he makes his to-be wife very upset at him.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Yeah. And that whole thing, I don't know. I just feel for Daemon. I like Daemon. I'm a Daemon stan.
I'll say I think the character that accomplished the most. Yeah, Renard is a good choice. I'm actually go with Otto because the plans that he's laid here are coming to fruition. It seems like, at least, and obviously getting your family kind of into the top of the royal line is pretty well done. So good for him, even if we don't like him necessarily. And then worst, I maybe just like on the other end of this conflict was Corlys. Like his plan, he tried to reach. He made a calculated reach as what's the name of that guy in the small council who was explaining this to Viserys? Is that like the master of coin or trade or something? Don't remember his name, but that was a pretty good breakdown of the situation. But unfortunately, Corlys did not play to the emotional side of things, which you kind of have to do with Viserys, because that's what really rules him more so than logic or duty. Well, on the good side, Corlys was able to, looks like, forge an alliance that'll be interesting going forward. He's kind of manipulating Daemon a little bit there, so maybe not necessarily an all bad episode for him, but the big plan didn't work out.
And Corlys was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was one of the characters that you were interested in seeing the most, right, Stephen?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of him.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I loved his speech about like building his house from with the strength of his back.
That was cool.
That was awesome.
He's a cool guy. He's got to read the king a little bit better, though, I think.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what follows with this next episode. We got a little bit of like these flashes to the crab feeder, and it looks like he's wearing like a mask from like the Sons of the Harpy, like one of those masks, but it's like worn, and I think that might be what it is. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
There.
And then also you can see he has grayscale, which in the book he's got the sickness, but we don't really know what it is, right? And now it's confirmed, I guess, that it's grayscale. So
can you remind me what are the Sons of the Harpy?
They're the group over in I don't remember what city. Was it Marine, where Daenerys is at? The rebel group. They're the ones that killed Sir Barristan in the show, not the book.
Okay.
Maybe Ryan needs a rewatch.
I definitely do. I'm not sure if it's going to happen anytime soon, though. Can you guys tell me if there has been any significant departure from the books at this point? Or
there's been a few.
Remember. Yeah, Hayden.
Yeah, I mean, Alicent is a different age, and when Viserys and Alicent get married in the books, Alicent is like 26 or something, and Viserys is like 36. They're like pretty close in age, maybe 9 or 10 years apart.
They made them closer, so the Alicent Rhaenyra rivalry would be a little harder hitting.
Yeah, they made like Rhaenyra and Alicent like best friends at the same age. And that is awesome change for the show, because it creates a lot of drama, a lot of tension, which I think was really, really well done. Yeah, there were a couple of other ones, but I can't think of them right now, top of my head. But as I'm watching, I'm definitely with Daemon and going to Dragonstone. I think in the book he originally like when he's banished from King's Landing, Viserys tells him to go back to his wife in the Vale, and he does. And then he like goes later on back to Massaria, takes her, whatever, and they go to Dragonstone, and then Massaria actually does get pregnant with his child. And I know in this episode, like, she didn't, and they do get married. So that's interesting. I don't know if that'll come down, later on down the road, but they're kind of like using a few different plot lines and kind of combining them, it looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I read Fire and Blood not too long ago, but I don't remember nearly this level of detail, Hayden. So I'm glad we have you here. And it's kind of fun to like know at least what's like. I know the big things that are going to happen, but I've forgotten enough of the details where it's still entertaining to watch, and like I still don't know exactly how it's going to play out, and obviously neither do you because they're going to make departures. But it's fun to have like the outline, but not all the details.
Totally, I think they're doing a great job. It would be boring if everything was exactly the same. And I want to give props to like the writers of the show, the people who are writing the dialogue, because there's been some really, some really powerful lines in the show already that I think are really well written. And for Game of Thrones, we had most of that already written in the books. Like those really powerful one-liners were used from the script of the book that we had, and these writers have to come up with the dialogue. We don't really have a lot of dialogue in Fire and Blood. So pretty cool. I think they're doing a great job.
All right. On that note, that's our review of episode 2. We'll try to get these out every week. We may not get Hayden every week, but glad we have you here to, maybe you can listen and let us know what mistakes we're making. And then when we get you back, you can clear it all up for us.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thanks.